always, which I love. And one thing, I added something to this, because I'm going to get into the code in a bit, so stick with us. I'm going to get into the code today. It's not just going to be me talking. But I did want to I couldn't help it. In the office yesterday, the agency, we heard that Adobe, our father Adobe as Magento developers, abusive, if anything, has acquired Figma. And obviously, I'm not a designer. I don't use Figma in that way, but I do use Figma as a dev, and I found it brilliant, by the way. And also, I know designers that use Figma, and it's a bit of a warning, to be honest, to Adobe. I mean, to Figma users, and I'd love to know from designers. I might clip this bit actually and do it as a separate video, but I'd love to know from designers what they think of this, because as a Magento developer, our platform got bought by these people at Adobe, and I can't see how it's improved. I think obviously Magento has incrementally improved. I'm not disputing that, but what I am disputing is whether the community or the if Magento had have always stayed a community project, would it have continued on an upward trajectory? I think it would have. I mean, the majority of the debugging, the majority of the contributors, they're all community based. They don't belong to Adobe. And Adobe aren't these geniuses that come up with these great tools either. Like, obviously, what's synonymous with Adobe? Photoshop, bought it. Flash, Macromedia, bought it. Dreamweaver, bought it. They just buy shit. They're just one of these big tech giants that go around buying shit. And let's have a look at Figma. What's its closest competitor? Yeah, XD. And I'm sure there's Figma designers, and even as a developer, Figma designers that probably tried XD, moved to Figma because it's so much better, probably have got an Instagram with XD because, to be honest, I think it's shit. And they've clearly just bought this 20 billion plus stock, or what, in stock and cash or whatever, made a handful of people very rich. And if Adobe do what they do with everything, which is fuck it up, then they're gonna and again, I'm not saying they fucked up Magento. I'm just saying that they haven't added any. For me, they haven't added anything to it that I would say is, oh, thanks Adobe, that Adobe genius at work as usual, because they're not geniuses. They're money people. That's what they are. Who remembers Flash? Do you know what I mean? They've had what have they really contributed? What have Adobe contributed to our industry from Adobe? Yeah, they've bought shit and give it a new logo, but what have they contributed? I would say, other than, as I say, they've contributed millions to shareholders. Other than that, for us, the community people, or the people who actually are at the coalface working with this tech. Which is brilliant. I mean, Figma is brilliant. I mean, for a 10-year-old company to be sold for 20 billion, it's literally, they've just bought the competition. That's what they've done, and that's what these companies do. They just buy the competition. So hopefully they won't get the shit bits of XD and the shit bits of Figma and put it together and sprinkle on a little bit of Adobe bloatware. Guarantee you'll be starting to get little links for Adobe stock images and stuff. It's not... I can't stand this. Have a Google at. I just can't stand this level of sort of monopoly. I'd love to know if anybody has an opposing view, by the way, and are really chuffed that Adobe have bought Figma. But I can't see, because how well Figma would have been doing, I can't see they've bought it to improve it. Excuse me. They aren't going to put money into it. They aren't going to sort of buy something for 20 billion and then invest another 20 billion in the software to make it the better, because there's nothing to compete with it now. What they could have done is they could have put billions or they could have put money into XD to compete with Figma, and then Figma would have had to compete with XD to be better, and then the consumer or the subscriber or whatever we're known as nowadays would have benefited from that process. But now there's no competition, so no one's gonna benefit from it. Stagnate. It will stagnate. But my prediction is it will stagnate. Well, that's enough of the negativity. I don't want to be too negative, because I'm going to get into the code. And the title of the video, it was on the thumbnail as well. and Adobe, again, this isn't an Adobe invention, but I want to talk about and look into in a bit more detail the two-step checkout, the famous two-step checkout. I love it.